A global cyber alliance is taking flight. From the Vatican to Silicon Valley, governments, AI pioneers, and defense leaders are joining forces. It's called Cyber Eagle. It's not another firewall. It's a living, shape-shifting defense built on agentic AI. It learns, it adapts, it fights back. While most of the world sleeps, these innovators are building the next shield of civilization, and the clock to quantum warfare is already ticking. Today I get to share with you all everything about Cyber Eagle, where resilience becomes the new weapon. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show. All right, well, welcome everybody to Cybercrime Junkies. I am your host, David Mauro, and I'm joined today by two leaders at the forefront of one of the boldest moves we've seen in cybersecurity on the planet. First, Carlo Tortora, Brayda, my good friend, a global voice in cyber defense strategy and the architect behind Cyber Eagle project, driving partnerships that span governments, enterprises, and critical infrastructure worldwide. And alongside him, the legendary cybersecurity leader, Michael Tiesemer, a veteran technologist leading the charge on agentic polymorphic AI defense, pushing the boundaries of how adaptive cybersecurity can be in the real world. Together, they're building what has been called the world's largest intelligent cybersecurity center of excellence. And today we're unpacking what it really means for the future of resilience. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio. I'm honored to have you both.
Thank you, Dave. It's such a pleasure to come back. It always feels like
home. You're welcome.
Home. Feels like home.
Yeah.
It's exciting to be here, especially at this point in our journey with Cyber Eagle. Things have gone extremely well in our planning and preparation. And as Michael put it the other day, we're really sitting atop a rocket that's just about to take off in an incredible way. Yeah.
So for people that don't know it yet. So let's set the stage. So the vision for Cyber Eagle project, what is it? Because I know, but I don't want to make assumptions, and our listeners may not know. We had a panel discussion earlier that covered it, but it was before it was really in the embryonic stages at that time, and it's really developed phenomenally. And I'm so excited for you guys and everybody involved. Tell us about the vision. Tell us about the need that you saw and the void globally that you saw.
Yeah. I'll tell you about the genesis of how it came about, because for those that don't know, it might be interesting to see how and why we put so much effort into this. And then Michael has been very much the architect of this incredible vision that we have in terms of polymorphic autonomous cyber defense, which is really the heart and soul of where we're going with a program. The reason Cyber Eagle came about, it came about a number of years ago. So the background to myself, for those that don't know me that too well, I've had a parallel background. I've had one pillar of my life has always been in corporate business, in technology, particularly cybersecurity, and generally on the go-to-market side. So that's kind of been my angle. And the go-to-market implies partnerships and alliances. So I've always been a believer in partnerships and alliances. At the same time, I've had two other pillars in my life that followed me right through. One is the United Nations, where I had the chance to be mentored by two United Nations Secretary Generals, Kofi Annan, who I knew very well as a family friend even, and previous to that, Boutros Ghali. They were very inspiring sources for me. And the United Nations is a phenomenal organization, and it can be justifiably criticized. But it's also doing some really good work, also in standardization, also in aligning AI in a positive way, and even looking at those crossroads there at the convergence of AI and cybersecurity. So they're a very worthwhile partner, and I love them to bits. And the other pillar in my life has been the World Economic Forum, where I participated as a subject matter expert on technology innovation for a number of years. So at a certain point in time, my colleagues and I decided to put together a think tank the Tortora Brayda Institute for AI and Cybersecurity. Suddenly, I found myself surrounded by technology luminaries, leaders in industry like Michael, like many others that we actually have now within Cyber Eagle. The purpose of the think tank was to create a round table to bring together the US government and US enterprises, and not just the big usual ones that sit at the table like Google and Microsoft and AWS. I've always felt that there's so much innovation in the US, especially in AI, especially in cybersecurity. And all of these vibrant communities in Silicon Valley, in DC, in Huntsville, Alabama, in Texas, everywhere across the United States, have never really been consulted properly. So I wanted to bring these two things together. I always saw federal cyber strategies not get implemented at the end of the day in a way that was tangibly helpful for industry, right? So the motive behind the think tank was to create this togetherness, to bring this roundtable, to create these alliances, these partnerships, to have a private-public partnership roundtable. On the back of that, we created the National AI and Cybersecurity Information Sharing and Analysis Organization that Michael led as the executive director. And one of the projects that we discussed at length was how do we protect critical infrastructure, especially now in the age of AI. And so the idea sprung about 4 years ago that, one of the things that we ought to do is to not just talk about it, but actually take action. The feeling was that federal strategy after federal strategy, good ideas were being put out, but at the end of the day, critical infrastructure still remained critically vulnerable, right? And
Absolutely. And for the listeners, when we think of critical infrastructure, right, most people think of large segments, right? Massive logistics, massive grids, things like that. But it really boils down to your local water treatment plant and some of the things that many of us, not just in the U.S., but across the globe, are actually may know people there or have personal engagement with on a monthly or weekly basis, right? I mean, it really gets into the things that allow us to function in our daily lives.
It's a vast industry that we depend on for our lives, right? As you point out, if the local water treatment plant gets hijacked, we're all in trouble. People die. And so we cannot take these risks anymore, especially not with the geopolitical volatility that we're facing today. And so we thought, and I listened to General Nakasone at the time, the chief of U.S. Cyber Command. I've listened to some of the leaders of MITRE saying, we can't sleep at night because the big guys, they get the attention and they come and spend the millions here at MITRE on simulations, but everybody else doesn't. And then I thought, well, you're right. Everybody else doesn't. How many everybody else's are there? I counted them. There's 1.2 million companies in the United States and its NATO allies that are part of critical infrastructure. And that's not counting the companies that are below 100 employees.
That's not counting that. So it's 1.2 million organizations that are part of critical infrastructure. And that doesn't include the ones with less than 100 employees.
Yes, correct. Otherwise,
that is significant. That's significant.
And within these 1.2 million companies, you have, for example, the example I often quote is, let's say there's an ethanol company that makes alcohol swabs for operations in hospitals that is based out of Nevada or Sacramento or something like that supplies the local hospitals. Well, if Procter & Gamble goes down, if Johnson & Johnson goes down and the big firms are unable to supply locally, how do people do operations in a situation of emergency? The little guys are important, and now we are at the point, I call it the age of compression, where everything is happening faster. Geopolitical tremors on one part of the world have repercussions right across. And I'm not saying that the whole thing will come tumbling down, but the risk now is greater than ever because of this effect, because AI is speeding everything up. We don't know what's going to happen when it happens. And when it happens, it's going to hurt. So we have to take the bull by the horns. And so for me, taking the bull by the horns was, let's make sure that companies that need funding are funded and supported by the government. The government supported companies during the COVID crisis. Well, it should support them certainly now that we're at the point, at the highest apex of AI cyber conflict and cyber attacks on our country and on our allies' countries. So we need to consider that. Secondly, a lot of these smaller companies don't necessarily have the structure or the threat analysts in the team because
Right.
it has been part of the culture, it hasn't been part of the budget, right?
Correct. Yep.
There's a lot that needs to be done in order to support and elevate the cybersecurity posture. And the only way to do it is to force the hand. So it's to negotiate with government in the United States, with the allies, find pockets of budget, move these pockets of budgets to where they're actually needed, support companies in getting budget if they need it. If they don't need it, support them in elevating their cybersecurity posture through the easiest point of entry with support on cyber awareness, support on cyber ranges, support on understanding their cyber exposure, the hacktivist activity that they could have against them, the level of compromised credentials that they might have out for trade on the dark web, and everything else, and help them to negotiate and get better cyber insurance deals. The goal is resilience, right? We cannot just build walls. We're not another firewall company. The world has enough firewall companies. It's the days of firewalls. They're not numbered. Firewalls are always going to be necessary, but it's not just about firewalls. Now it's really is about bouncing back. It's about being ready to bounce back, giving people the flexibility to be able to withstand an attack, just like the passing wind. And I'll stop there and hand over back to you, Dave, and then to Michael.
And really building resilience. I mean, you really touched on, everything you say was spot on with everything I do every day. Like, it is genuinely about building resilience, right? Having visibility, being prepared, because the difference between organizations that prepare and have visibility, have detection in, can adapt to the latest threats, the way they bounce back, I see it. We're involved in it. And compared to those that aren't, right, that still view things like it's 10 years ago, it's night and day. I mean, it's some go out of business, some it takes years to bounce back. It's absolutely devastating.
That's
One thing I want,
So, we are absolutely living in this age of compression. Time frames are collapsing. We see that every day, even in the way that we work with AI ourselves for the benefit of our companies. Attackers compress this time to strike, and defenders must compress the time to respond. So that's why we need to elevate the systems, and we need to have resilience in order to decompress that risk, to spread that risk, to manage that risk. So there's like a single point of failure that collapses an entire system, like we've seen in the past.
Absolutely. And, compared to 10, 15 years ago, when the typical organization, whether it's a government, small agency, or a corporate entity, look, we had computers in the office, right? And should they go down, in general, let's be real. We were okay. We still had processes and procedures in the kinetic world where we could still conduct operations. We could still bounce back. It could take a little while to be repaired or fixed, but it wasn't the end of the world. We've all gone through digital transformation. And now we are more dependent than ever before on the technology that we use. And so when these strikes happen, it's more devastating than it was 10 years ago. And they're speeding up in the age of compression, as you've called it, which I love that phrase. Would you agree with that?
I would. And I'd love for Michael to chime in. Michael has created this phenomenal analogy about, with regards to, having to change the shape of the battlefield as the attack comes in. Michael, why don't you jump in and shed some light on what we're cooking up at Cyber Eagle?
All right, sure. So just to recap the problem statement that we're dealing with. On the one end, we're having a very well-known issue, which has to do with resourcing. There's just simply not enough defenders. I just recently read, and I wished I was remembering which state it was in the United States. State government agency got hacked. They didn't have a CISO. It was a shared responsibility that was put onto the CIO. That's at a state level. And then we go down to like the municipal level, city level. You're literally talking about Bob in the IT closet being responsible for your water treatment plant.
Welcome
and for
to my
thousands
world.
of lives.
Yes.
Right?
Welcome to the world we live in here in the Midwest in the United States. That is reality.
It's scary.
That is reality. Yes. It's
so
tragic.
That's the challenge on the left end. On the right end, we are dealing with the fact that, yes, attackers, advanced threat actors, are increasingly using AI
Absolutely.
for the first stages of exploitation of systems, which means there is a lot of addition of, how would I call this, like dynamism, like the battlefield that we're in is getting a lot more dynamic. Now, we always use this analogy of defense and depth. And defense and depth was, we are layering multiple controls, and with that, we are able to deal with an attack because if control 1 fails, control 2 comes into effect. But the funny thing is, actually, that's just a layered defense. Defense and depth in the military sense of things has very much to do with decision loops of the attacker, how to interrupt them, how to adapt your defense to what the attacker does. It's actually called a so-called elastic defense. Now, we always wanted to have that, but how to get there 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? You didn't have like security data lakes where all of your information was in. SIMs just started to happen, where you had a lot of hardware devices. Configuration was in 10 different systems. But that's no longer the world we live in today, right? We're starting to utilize technologies like SASE, like ZTNA networks, more and more and more. We're using SD-WAN. We're using a lot of technology that helps us manage the infrastructure and to automate it. Automation. SOAR, robotic process automation, right? These were the first Kindle stones of us using, well, let's say AI in its like first iterations.
Right.
As like the baby, basically, in business. But now we've gone further. Now we have what's called level 3 and almost level 4 agentic AI. Level 3, solid, which is basically an evolution of robotic process automation. And level 4 then, where we're heading to, which is a lot more independence, a lot more ability to adapt to completely unknown situations, if you want to say it like that. So what are we developing? Well, we're developing a solution that addresses exactly those two things. Imagine your environment, your security posture can adapt to the attacker's actions in real time. Now, imagine it can go and take the data from we're calling them sensor sources. Your sensor source could be an EDR. It could be kind of anything that you have. It takes that, it adapts in real time, but it also uses it to gain more intelligence about the attacker, which is something that we're getting a lot of interest in terms of the Hackback Act is becoming a topic again. We have the letters of marque that might be coming. There's a lot of talk in government circles that I'm seeing where people are really excited about this and are looking for solutions for that. So it enables us to A, create a defense that shifts dynamically based on the attacker's actions, that predicts the attacker's actions as well, but B, also enables the offense. And by the way, that's the funny thing here. In the historic example, defense and depth, it was always meant as a defense that enables the counterattack. Well, we are putting the playing pieces in place to actually enable all of this. And that is one aspect, one pillar of the Cyber Eagle platform is. There's more than that even.
Well, and let's get into those. But before we jump to those, I mean, the polymorphic AI defense is critical today because we've seen, I think it's Prompt Locker, a couple other ransomware strains, which don't even need to launch ransomware. They could just exfiltrate data, fancy word for stealing, and they are adapting on the fly, right? Like they are moving, they get in undetected. They see that there's, CrowdStrike is on there or SentinelOne or, whatever, EDR, whatever defense platform is on there. And then they keep morphing until they can get in undetected. And I've seen it in action and it's shocking, right? Because it makes us feel completely vulnerable. But having polymorphic AI in the defense can adapt and match that. And that to me is a great leveler.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, let's go and fast forward from 2 years from now. based on what we see on the attacker side, what's happening, there is no chance that your static defense, which is what the current understanding of defense in depth was, this layer defense, can survive that. And you will not be able to manually adjust it quickly enough when on the other end you're having adaptive malware, adaptive polymorphic malware, and not like the 1990s or early 2000s definition of that, where it's just the encryption keys that are morphing. But no, actually, it's developing exploits on the fly. It's finding ways to move laterally, to escalate privileges, and it's adapting what it's doing in real time. You have to match that with the same decision cycle. Now, for military people, that is very well understood. If my enemy is able to make decisions faster and better than I can, then that's it for me, basically, because they will find out how to chop us up after they've analyzed it. That's what they're doing to your environment.
Yeah, it's a theory. It's the national security defense theory of like détente, right? The arms race from the 80s and 90s. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So where is this in the development stage? Have we demoed it, executed it? Where are you guys at?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Most business leaders have a fatal flaw which results in their growth being interrupted or stopped terminally. They ignore the mountain they're about to crash into, distracted by the focus on revenue growth. Until it's too late. Don't become another fatal business statistic. Keep your cybersecurity modern so you can grow without interruption. Stay competitive. Get NetGain. Stay focused on your growth and funding. While NetGain keeps your technology always available with expert-level cybersecurity services to stop breaches in their tracks, all at a fraction of the cost of managing it yourself. Don't wait for a technology disaster to interrupt and cripple your growth. Speak with a specialist today. Contact NetGain Technologies today at 844-777-6278 or reach out online at netgainit.com. That's 844-777-6278 and netgainit.com. Grow your business uninterrupted. Contact NetGain today.
Let me just describe the product in a nutshell in terms of where it's at. The pinnacle is the polymorphic autonomous cyber defense, but that sits on a stable of agentic AI, orchestrated agentic AI. So going back to the levels that Michael was describing, we're actually pushing the cyber world from a level 3 capability. So there's a few companies that have agentic capabilities, and most of them are at level 3. We're pushing that to level 4 with a view to taking it really to level 5. Level 5 is the highest realistic achievable level in about 12 months' time. Within that, within our stable, we'll have a number of different specialized agents. So one, for example, will be specialized on deep fakes, on detecting deep fakes on video, on detecting deep fakes on documentation of voice. One will be specialized on social engineering and detecting social engineering, preventing social engineering. One will be focused on cloud security, one on dark web exposure, etc. So all of these, we are building 13 patent families, 7 of which are proprietary agentic developments, 6 of which are tied OEM developments in partnership with other firms. And so 7 plus 6, and the other 6 that are proprietary so 13 are proprietary in total. The other 6 are quantum related, really looking at the cutting edge of what quantum can do within the world of cybersecurity, even going beyond the concept of PQC. So that's a stable of agents. They are designed to be able to provide that polymorphic orchestration. Below that, there's a command nexus. Within the command nexus, as you go into the command nexus, you have the ability to engage the different agents. You have the ability to see the updates on your cyber awareness, cyber assessments, and where your weaknesses are. The AI, what you need to worry about, what you need to think about patching, where you need to focus, and whether you need some new technology as well. Because it may well be that our agentic AI will say, well, you need a better. You need.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Getting back to the basics, right? But it will be able to assess it and then advise accordingly.
Take you into our intelligent marketplace, pull out the right solution like the rabbit out of the hat, and on the one hand, show you the product that you need. And on the other hand, if you're eligible for it, it will take you through the funding navigator where you can actually get funded to be able to acquire that technology.
Depending on where the organization sits, right, there very well might be grants or other vast discounts, things like that are available to them.
Correct. And this marketplace is going to be something that will enhance the work of the orchestrated agentic AI, but it will also be a marketplace that you can enter from the side as you would enter, let's say, a distributor marketplace or Amazon for that matter, right? But it's going to become the biggest cybersecurity marketplace in the world. There's no question and no doubt about that. And the reason I can say that with confidence is that over the last few years, we've done nothing but work the cyber diplomacy channels. Cyber diplomacy is now led by Kelvin Coleman, former executive director at the White House for cybersecurity during both the Obama administration and George Bush Jr. administration. He's a phenomenal friend and great diplomat. And he and Michael and myself and other members of the senior leadership team have been engaged with not only at the domestic level in the United States, but also overseas with our allies in the Baltics, in Western Europe. And we've been working at getting agreement in principle to collaborate in the same way and to provide companies with this kind of cyber resilience. And this is where it gets really interesting, is that Cyber Eagle has developed in such a way that it can actually be deployed in foreign allied countries as a sovereign entity in its own right. So
explain that, because one of my questions in follow-up to what you just said was, when engaging governments or public entities, how do you ensure sovereignty of data, while also enabling cross-border data sharing, things like that, intelligence sharing?
Yeah. So certainly the data side needs to remain sovereign. The systems need to be sovereign, and also the preferred suppliers in different allied countries need to be sovereign and preferred by those governments. So, for example, in the UK, the government has a certain preference and a certain way of wanting to see this work. In France, for example, Thales is one of the top players in cybersecurity for France. And so they would be integral to the marketplace, and potentially also integral in the actual deployment of Cyber Eagle as a vehicle in France. Because Cyber Eagle in France would be majority owned by French institutions, with the IP assigned from our Swiss association, from our Swiss IP holding group. So ultimately, the IP is held in the United States, but insofar as the allied countries are concerned, they are able to be truly sovereign because the company becomes its own native deployment. Right now, for example, we have signed an MOU in Saudi Arabia where we are able, at the flick of a switch, later this year or early next year, when the paperwork is consummated, we will have, through an intelligently constructed joint venture, something like 16 to 1,800 employees in Saudi Arabia, leveraging tenured companies that have deep government relationships, deep critical infrastructure credibility and security access within Saudi Arabia. And so therefore, Cyber Eagle will be the natural choice in Saudi Arabia because it will have a sovereign market with companies that are acceptable. It'll be provided for in a sovereign manner. And of course, it checks all the boxes insofar as national procurement, like federal procurement, and legislation like GDPR, the EU AI legislation.
Protecting privacy. So you're really building a brand new channel, right? You are building a cybersecurity, fully compliant channel that is global. So you will have all the different sovereign nations, the organizations, critical infrastructure within each that will be able to enter this channel and then select, get assessed, identify gaps, and be able to select tools and tool sets and platforms that can benefit them in a compliant manner.
It has to be, especially now, and going back to the terminology of before, in the age of compression, The age of compression is creating this need at every country level to really be self-sufficient and independent and sovereign in its own right. So even a Goliath like Microsoft deploys Azure in France also as a French version of Azure.
Correct.
Right? So
yep.
It's very interesting. And we're kind of following that same kind of concept because it is the way forward. And also, Dave, I know that you and I know the US channel really well, and we're friends with many of the channel analysts. And everybody's been saying, look, by the end of the decade, 90% of all business transactions are going to be marketplace transacted, channel assisted.
Yeah. I mean, it happens in our personal lives, right? Like in business, we want to be able to go to an Amazon and be able to select what is needed, right? But the channel affords the guidance to identify what you need too in the first place, which is great.
Yeah. And the implementation side, because of course, we are going to be deploying a channel, an MSSP partner base of 25,000 partners across the world.
That's outstanding.
There, I would actually even use this opportunity as a plug and a shout out to anybody who is an MSSP or an MSP with security inclinations that wants to be part of our implementation system.
Absolutely. They'll have to get behind NetGain and my MSSP, but they are all absolutely welcome. So.
Absolutely right. Michael, over to you. I hoarded the conversation a bit too much.
Well, I would say extending on some of those partnerships that we're building, it's really in a position where we're being approached with a lot of excitement around the world. I mean, if I just like Carlo mentioned the KSA, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we're talking to Senegal, Ecuador, UK, Italy, Vatican, France, Estonia, Latvia, Denmark. In some of these countries, let's say, for example, Senegal,
Germany and France.
So in some of these countries, the conversations are really advanced already in terms of like what are we going to offer and what services. And it's a combination of both going in and providing the platform, also providing advisory services, because to be honest, we are morphing at this point already into this one-stop solution and service provider for critical infrastructure defense, because we are all people that already have an existing network of professionals, right? So what's happening to us is we have service providers for specialty niches in our own networks, right? Like if you need to certify an airspace, and by that I literally mean certify an airspace of an entire country, I have the connection, the service provider that does that for a living, that is already working on an MOU for us to offer that through our market space. Even something that niche we're setting up. So I think we're in a very, very exciting position. And then the Vatican, Carlo, that you mentioned, I mean, that was a thing that I would have never thought I would be involved in, right? Like we're basically augmenting and then enhancing, leveling up the cyber auxiliary of the Vatican. And then turning this into where we are helping the Vatican, become more involved on the global stage in forums like the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise and other domains, while at the same time aiming at establishing their cert and really pushing hard for the position of a CISO in the Vatican. Because, and this is no offense to the Holy See, but if we're looking at the report that I think the ITU released on cyber capability and maturity, I think the Vatican was ranked dead last in Europe. It was a tier 5 country. So this means, you're tier 5 globally in tier 5, which is not a good place to be in. Never mind being also ranked dead last in Europe. And we have the ability to change that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then we don't have, time won't permit us today to go into the whole development in quantum, right? Because that is proceeding faster than anybody really anticipated. It's always been kind of a dream or a nightmare or something far off in the distance, but with latest developments, what can you guys share? And by the way, for listeners, we're going to have links to Cyber Eagle, etc. You got a phenomenal website where agentic AI picks up right as soon as you reach it. It's really cool. But you have a whole quantum section there for quantum safety. Can you just high level kind of walk us through what your vision is and what you're working on there?
Yeah, I'll jump in and just give you the very, very high level, and Michael can do some more technical drill downs if he wishes. What I wanted to say is, as we have been developing at such a pace and in such a unexpected way, people have been comparing us to Palantir in some respects. Mm-hmm. And in a way, we are like Palantir, but democratized for the masses. So whereas Palantir really focuses on some really large government contracts, we bring sovereign grade cybersecurity to the small and medium business through MSSPs and selected VARs and so on. So the positioning is different, but similar to Palantir, they have the Foundry. We have Eagle X Labs, and Eagle X Labs is where we do special projects and where we will be doing also special classified work. We're acquiring a company that is in that space, which has all the appropriate clearances, which will enable us to boost that part of the business in the United States. And abroad as well, we are able to use Eagle X Labs as, let's say, the cutting edge of cybersecurity and AI deployments. And so within that framework, we have secured some IP and some personnel that is just like beyond belief. And we will be driving a lot of post-quantum migration activity and quantum readiness activity. We'll be working with central banks. We'll be working with
because the banking and finance industry is probably going to be the first hit. Absolutely. We have some ideas on some really concrete ideas on how to help the world navigate Black Swan and Gray Swan events. And beyond that, I mean, we really have a talent pool that will be able to really empower and create rapid change. And I think that's what we'll be known for. The company that makes things really happen. In the same vein as how we started. We started by saying, let's take the bull by the horns. Let's stop looking at critical infrastructure and saying it's in a bad place. Somebody should do something about it. We're stirring the pot. We're shaking it up. We're looking for the money to You're actually attacking the root cause of the problem, right? Because it's a resource problem. It's humans, funding, time, energy, and you're attacking those core problems, which is very noble, actually.
And we're doing it. We're doing it in alignment with the United States goals and objectives, and in alignment with its diplomatic capabilities. So we're leveraging the U.S. Diplomatic networks around the world, working with the U.S. diplomatic structures, including the American Chambers of Commerce, etc., to deploy in a vast and I'm not going to say aggressive, but determined, resolute. That's the word.
Persistent. Yes.
Resolute.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the polymorphic AI, which we started talking about, is that the Spartan AI? Is that what you guys are calling it?
Spartan is the onboarding agent that looks after the client.
The onboarding agent. Okay. And then the polymorphic AI defense, does that have a name, or is it just part of the Cyber Eagle?
For the moment, it's codenamed Shapeshifter.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Have you been able to do any sandboxing? I'm just thinking, I would love to see it someday where it is sandboxing against, some polymorphic ransomware code or something like that. I mean, the polymorphic ransomware code is really just brand new, so I'm sure all of this is still brand new. But do you envision being able to say, here's how it works and here's a demo of it?
It's still a little bit down the line, but we've got the first class team working on it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We will be, it's a race. There's many companies that are racing towards it. I don't know if we'll be the first to cross the finish line, but we'll be there amongst the first. Maybe we will be the first. All right. Regardless,
regardless, yours comes with more. It's not just a tool. That's not what we're talking about, right? Like it is an entire channel. It is an entire ecosystem that addresses the core problem, which is the resources, the time, the money, etc. And so being able to help them through your channel and being able to connect to the right people for funding, that's critical.
Yeah, exactly. Michael, what do you think? What makes you excited about the product development and the shape that it's taking?
What makes me excited are the people that work for us. I mean, let's start with that. A tool is a tool. Technology is technology. Right. It innovates. It's being pushed forward. But none of this is going to work out if you don't have the right team. And I'm looking at the people that have joined us, and it's like on the government sector, very important people like Kelvin Coleman and other individuals. Everybody is a name. Everybody has, gone through the trial of fire, and they've done that.
Yes.
And the tech world, like we got people from some of the biggest brand name cybersecurity companies in the world that have decided we want to be involved in building this. Like, I want to do this instead of pulling $1 million plus at the company I shall not name right now. Right? That is exciting when all of these people come together united because they see what the impact of this can be. When we're talking about not just selling somebody a product, but actually trying to address this as our mission, the very root causes of what has always plagued cyber defense and critical infrastructure protection. Absolutely. That's my primary thing, the people. The second thing is, I've been like charting out, architecting, like thinking about Polymorphic for such a long while, and to finally have the pieces in my hands to make what was, to be honest, probably like in 2011, a pipe dream, right?
Right.
It was so far away.
Yeah.
To make that actually happen is incredibly exciting for me. Like, to actually get to this shape-shifting environment that turns into your attacker's worst nightmare, that gives me a little bit of personal joy. So very excited about this as well.
Well, and you guys have surrounded yourself with some pretty smart people, Lucian Niemeyer and Kevin Coleman. Sidney Guerrero. These are brilliant minds. So
yep. Yeah, Dan Van Veggen. Phenomenal, incredibly deeply connected, a real hardcore CISO type characters right across. So and on the commercial side, we've got a superb team. We're going international. We've seeded the world now. We have embryonic organizations growing out of the UK, out of the Middle East. There's a lot of activity really, and a lot of demand.
Well, I will say you guys are in cybersecurity globally, which once you get online, you're no longer in Kansas anymore. For the people that usually listen to my show, I will tell you that this is really, really important. And this is a group, not only through my own experience with your think tank and meeting all those people, you were so gracious to introduce me to so many brilliant people. It's just phenomenal. Like, you've really tapped into some of the brightest minds in the world with a good mission, right? And this is one that can't be ignored and one that isn't going away. So tell us, as we wrap up, what's on the agenda in the near future?
First of all, I'm really proud of what we've achieved as a think tank of which you're a member, and all of us collectively have been kicking these kinds of ideas around that have enabled us to get to this point. Cyber Eagle is going to be a massive multi-billion-dollar company. We already are de facto. We've been part of the Microsoft Unicorn program already for a year. We are tied with NVIDIA. We have some great development capabilities. But I'm very proud of the fact that it's a think tank project. And I'm also proud of the fact that the think tank keeps on deploying nice new projects. And there's always something exciting happening, international collaborations, making the world, what we say within the think tank, we say that we're making the world both better and safer. So the better side is through the AI and using AI for good purposes, and safer through these initiatives that we have in cybersecurity. Then peeling the next layer in of the onion within CyberEagle itself, I think what's around the corner, the next 12 months will show dramatic growth. It will show the consummation and incarnation of CyberEagle companies in multiple geographies. We will have some incredible partners. So the companies that we're partnering with are going to be companies that are really well known within defense and cybersecurity. And they will be stakeholders like us in their own countries. And that goes a long way. That really matters. That gives us enormous foothold and ability to really help critical infrastructure, wherever it may be, to be safer from cyber attacks. And ultimately, I think that's the biggest, the most exciting thing, is that this is a value and a purpose-driven activity. We're going to be saving people from being crippled by cyber criminals. So that's what keeps us really motivated, right?
We do a lot with social engineering, defense, AI deepfakes. We have tested literally over 200 different AI deepfake platforms. We have samples when we go out and we do public speaking, and we have the AI awareness, security awareness trainings that we always run. We always demonstrate deepfakes because people can't believe it. Like, it is literally undetectable by the human eye. And the AI deepfake detection platforms, the first ones out there really fell short, but by being able to capture some of the newer ones and working with the groups that you are, being able to have that will really neutralize that because it really is, to me, at the precipice of technology and human behavior. Like, when you're able to make people question all of the things they normally trust, right? Like, well, I'm looking at them, I'm hearing them, even though it's virtually, like, that's got to be them, right? And that is what we believe to be true, and it's not. And so when it gets to that point, it's really a true threat. But we're here to help you guys any way possible. So this is a great, great unicorn, and I'm really, really excited for both of you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to working with you a lot more. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Catch us on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, and dive deeper at cybercrimejunkies.com. Don't just watch, be the type of person that fights back. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show.